The date today is 4/7/2018. We're in Evansville, Indiana, and we have two Princetonites here from Princeton, Indiana, and Poseyville, Indiana, where Dr. Burkett and come here from, and also Mr. Doug Patton and a lot of other people, Poseyville. So this young man was in the Marine Corps. That's what that hat says, USMC Semper Fi. So we're going to let him do a little history, and his wife is here to the left. So I want them to introduce themselves, their first names and last names. Start with you, sir, Clifford East. Start with your first name, last name, and birth date, and where you're born and where you lived most of your life. Say it out loud, straight into this baby.
Yeah, my first name.
Louder.
Clifford East, 10/28/33. I was born around Sturtsville, Indiana, and lived there until I went in service. About 19 or 20.
And then you got into service. Okay, then let me introduce your wife before we go on. Okay, what's your maiden name? First name, maiden name, and last name?
My first name is Dolores. My second name is Vivian, and it used to be D'Angelo, and then it was Gray, and now it's East.
Okay, East, okay. And then you live Poseyville, you born and raised Poseyville?
I was born in Morgantown, West Virginia. I was raised in Maryland. I lived in Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
So you're an Army brat a little bit?
California.
Yeah, a little bit everywhere.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Your first name is?
Dolores.
Dolores, okay, Dolores, my mom's name. Beautiful name. Now, what I want, Clifford, he got in the military. You got in the military, Clifford. Tell us, you were about 19 or 20, you got in, and tell us where you enlisted, till you went to boot camp, and then what you did in the military.
Okay, Marine Corps in 1953. I enlisted right here in Evansville, Indiana. And I went to boot camp in San Diego, California.
Evansville, Indiana. Where did you enlist? At the Marine Corps Navy base down there on right across from Meade Johnson?
The courthouse.
The courthouse where you enlisted, okay. And then you enlisted. Then where'd you go to boot?
San Diego, California.
So they have boots for the Marine Corps in Parris Island and also San Diego. Those are the two places to go to boot camp for the Marine Corps. Some people call that Hollywood boot camp, but it wasn't any Hollywood there, was it?
No, there wasn't no Hollywood about it.
And then after you went to boot, that was 8 weeks. That's where Gomer Pyle's films are at that. If you look at Gomer Pyle, and they got the Quonset, that's still there. The airport lands all their planes right near there. So really big. A lot of movies are held there at the Marine Corps base there where they train the troops. But it's real famous. So then after you trained there, Clifford, where did you go after that?
Well, Camp Pendleton for about 6 weeks, then I went to Japan.
So Camp Pendleton is one of our biggest Marine Corps bases. Leg like that. That's it. One of our biggest Marine Corps bases in the country. It's about 50 square miles. Just a gigantic place. So you learned a few basic things. Then where'd you go in Japan? Yokosuka?
No, Camp McNair, Japan, pretty close to Tokyo.
So near McNair. And what year were you there in Japan? About
54.
54. So that was in the occupation of Japan. They drove on the other side of the road and things like that. And you were just making sure everything was right there.
Yeah.
Did you do anything special when you were in Japan? You there about 2 years?
About a year, really.
Yeah. And no fighting or anything. We just had occupied of Japan. Did you have to go to Korea then, or anything else, or down to Okinawa?
We thought we'd gone to Korea when we come home, but they sent us back to the States.
Because the war was over about 54. What it went 51 to 54 or something like that. Yeah. And what do you think the most important thing for the U.S. Marine Corps is, and what is your most memorable events of the Marine Corps, and what did it teach you in life?
Well,
look this way.
It taught you how to be a man, really.
Yeah. More kids today need to have some of that training. A year or two. Each kid, I think, ought to be in the military 18 months just to learn how to say yes sir, no sir, and have some discipline. You probably learned a lot of discipline in the Marine Corps. They are high and tight.
Some of these kids nowadays would go to the Marines. They'd come back men.
Yes, yeah. You grew up a lot in a 2-year or 3-year period of time. You became more of a responsible, more everything. just improved your character?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And what do you think about the United States and our freedom and what our military stands for?
Well, the military stands for
Thank you for your service, sir.
everything, really.
Okay, all right, you as well. Grab a donut and a cup of coffee.
I think we're gonna go out for breakfast.
All right.
Well, thank you very much, Clifford. I think it's helped defend our nation, give us our freedom, and you probably appreciate it more than the youngsters do now. But as we get older, we appreciate it more all the time.
That's for sure.
But I sure appreciate you giving that freedom to our country. And your spouse here, I'm sure she's had a lot of military experiences with family, been all the places in the country here, Belvoir, or East Coast, West Coast, everywhere. Yeah. What's your thoughts about our freedom and how the military has defended it, Mrs. East?
I think they're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah,
I think we should be grateful to all of them.
yeah. Well, thank you very much today from Poseyville, Indiana.